Welcome to the Man Enough Podcast. I'm Justin Baldoni.
I'm Liz Flake.
I'm Jamie Heath.
Jamie, do you want to take one more bite of food? And Liz, do you want to wait any longer to say your name?
I didn't realize how far I was from the mic. You know, it's just I'm at home. It's WAH. Like, it's just like everything's different.
Everything's different. So we're not together, unfortunately. We're not together today. I missed you, Liz. I want to give you a hug soon. Come back to California where it's warmer.
Love that. I really would love that. I will, in a heartbeat.
And Jamie is eating because he is the president of Wayfarer Studios and has 55 things to do, and he's recording a podcast right now. So just in case you watch him eating throughout the whole episode, it's because he hasn't had a chance to eat today. So I'm just gonna.
Thank you for that. I appreciate you, Jay.
We have a friend of mine on today, Dean Cain.
Dean Cain, Superman.
Liz had a big crush on him.
More than Superman.
And who played Lois? What was her name?
Terry Hatcher.
Oh my God! How did I forget Terry Hatcher?
They were both peak hot. Very hot.
Oh my God, they were peak hot. Dean, I got to say though, I haven't seen Terry recently, but Dean is very attractive. He is a very attractive man. Yeah. Good Lord.
Great genes.
I'm so happy Dean's on the show today. And I'm really happy because Dean is somebody who you wouldn't think would be on the Man Enough podcast. If you know who Dean Cain is, you could have seen him on Twitter, or maybe you saw something go viral that he said on Fox News. One thing you need to know about Dean is he is an independent. Actually, he's not a registered Republican. And you might also think that Man Enough is a very left, democratic, liberal-leaning show, because those are the types of guests we've had on. But in reality, we're talking about an issue that affects everybody the same. We're talking about masculinity and how to show up in the world, not just as better men, but as better people, as better humans. And we want to have people on the show that don't necessarily agree on everything, because that's how we grow, right? And the Baha'i Faith, Abdu'l-Baha says, it's through the clash of differing opinions that the spark of truth is ignited. And I think that this show is one of these, like, let's disagree to agree. Hey, maybe that's the name of the episode. We disagree to agree sometimes. And I think it was a beautiful example of that. So I hope you enjoy this episode, and we will be right back. Jamie, enjoy the rest of your meal with Dean Cain. This is Man Enough.
This episode is brought to you by Factor. Hey everyone, it's Jamie Heath here from the Man Enough podcast, and I am back in action. Mindful, breatheful action, and yet still, like we all do, I got so many things to do and to get done. And I just don't want to spend my time in line at the grocery store, hunched over the stove and all that stuff in the kitchen, when I could be with my family, my wife, my kids, doing things that I love, like making music and reading a book, or just watching one of my favorite TV shows. And now that I leave my meals to Factor, I don't have to meal plan or prep or any of that stuff. Factor makes it easy for me to eat clean 24/7 with fresh, never frozen, prepared meals that are so delicious you wouldn't believe that they were actually good for you. They deliver chef-crafted meals straight to my doorstep. They save me all kinds of time, not to mention the cleanup, the dishes, all that stuff that you normally have to do after cooking a meal. And each Factor meal arrives pre-prepared and ready to eat in 2 minutes. I mean, that's faster than ordering in. Their registered dietitians and expert chefs work hand in hand to create meals with nutritious ingredients. And with more than 27 meal options each week, I'm never bored. They offer vegan and veggie meals, cold-pressed juices, smoothies, energy bites, plant-based bars, extra protein, veggie sides, and even more, just to keep me fueled and focused all day long. And let me tell you, I indeed have been using Factor for a long time now, and I love it. I mean, I really do. I really love it. The whole family loves it. So head to go.factor75.com/manenough120 and use code manenough120 to get $120 off. That's code manenough120 at go.factor75.com/manenough120 for $120 off.
Hello and welcome to Man Enough. So on the show today, we have a man who played my brother, who now somehow over the last 10 years, 12 years longer, now looks younger than me, which makes no sense. He was my older brother, and now he could be my younger brother. My friend Dean Cain. How are you, my man?
I'm well, Justin. I don't know if I could really play your younger brother, but I'll take that as a compliment.
Well, I don't have any Asian in me. I don't even know how we played brothers in the first place. But
very Italian and very Asian brother. It's because our father was James
Brolin.
Yeah,
James. We look a lot like James Brolin.
I see the whole family resemblance there.
just for everybody to know, we did this like Royal Caribbean cruise short film where we basically, I'm sure we both took the job for the same reason. We got paid to go on a cruise for like 7 days, and we just had a blast hanging out together, and it was so much fun.
It was like an episode of The Love Boat. If you guys probably don't remember The Love Boat. I mean, Jamie, you might, but Liz,
I remember.
No way.
Wait. Hold on a second. What do you mean, what do you mean, Jamie? You might.
I mean, Jamie is, you're closer to my age than I think.
What made you? What gave you that idea?
Just because we were talking before the show, and I figured we were in sort of the same general area.
I could have been 20 years younger than you. I'm not. We are the same age, but I don't appreciate that.
Are you guys the same age? Are you the same age?
I'm 52. I'm 52. So
I'm the old man.
You are the old man. Man, don't put me in your category.
I want to just preface this by saying, obviously, our show is about masculinity and what it means to be a man, and how we as men can become not just better men, but better humans. And part of that is really examining and looking at the systems that have been put in place that have contributed to us being the way that we are, socialization, et cetera, and how we treat women, how the world treats women. Not everybody has the same view as me. Not everyone has the same view as Liz and Jamie. And by the way, the three of us also disagree on this show quite a bit. And I think it's important to have a conversation with someone who maybe has different, at least appearing ideological views than a few of us. Jamie and I specifically have no political affiliation. We're independents. We're of the Baha'i faith. That's a part of our faith. Liz is fairly liberal. It was fairly the right thing
I was
to
going to say, I'm Canadian, so I don't count.
Oh, you're Canadian, so you don't count. But somehow this conversation around masculinity, I believe, gets conflated with politics.
Mm-hmm.
Everything does these days, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And at the core of the show, it's about showing that, like, we're all the same. We're all humans. Can we get vulnerable and honest and real with each other? And so with that, I want to ask you the first question.
Sure.
Dean, when was the last time you didn't feel like you were enough?
I think to get specific, I have to think about the specific moment, but it happens all the time. I care for a number of people within my family, financially and otherwise. I'm a father. I'm a single father, so I raised my son alone since the age of 9. So this has a lot to do with, I understand a lot about raising a young man. I don't know. You have kids, Justin?
4 and 6 now. 4-year-old boy, 6-year-old girl.
And Jamie, you have kids?
4 of them.
Woo! And Liz?
I don't. I can barely take care of myself. No, this is true story. I cracked my iPhone, it shattered, and I brought it to the store this week. And the woman kept referencing things that were good for the kiddos, and I never corrected her because she just assumed that only a child would ruin her iPhone in such a destructive way. So no, I don't have children, not yet.
No, I just asked that only because it certainly does inform the way you think about raising a young man or young woman and what they were going through. And in today's world, it's a whole different ball of wax. But for me personally, there's moments I question, man, can I do this? Can I get all this done? Am I going to be able to make this? Am I taking on too much? It happens to me all the time. I mean, I just bought my parents a house in Las Vegas. I literally got back this weekend from doing that. And it stretched me to do this at this time when a lot of the things are going on. But I care for my parents, and my dad adopted me. I have my biological mother. But I was like, am I doing the right thing? I sort of had to take charge of it, and I did. But I also know, my core sort of way I push through life is, and when things are really tough, I look at the moments of my life where things are really tough and the moments where I took on the most that I could possibly take on. And those are the moments where I see the most growth and the most introspection and where I learned the most about myself. And so oftentimes, I mean, every day I might feel like I'm not enough, but I'm able to push through that, fortunately. And if someone isn't, and sometimes as a kid, I wasn't, and sometimes I see my son in that situation, and I realize he can't be me and he can't be like me because he's completely unique. He is so different than me, but he is by far my favorite human being on the planet. And he just tried to call me, and for the first time in maybe my lifetime, I didn't answer it.
Oh no! You can
Because
totally
because
text
of
him.
us?
He's just checking it. I found out what he's doing right now.
I love it.
I'm on
Respond
it.
to him. I love it.
I always
No, do it. You have to. Tell him you're on a podcast
No.
talking about how much you love him. That's the best.
Yeah,
FaceTime him.
exactly.
done.
Yes.
And let's do this while you're doing this, because we got super excited to talk to you and jump right in. We forgot to do one thing that you very much deserve, which is to introduce you and to talk about who you
right
are.
in. I just went
So,
right in.
We went right in.
So with that,
Done.
Liz Plank, can you tell the audience a little bit about Dean Cain?
So we are joined by Dean Cain, who is a dedicated father. He's currently texting his son as he's trying to, talking with us because he just called him. So very devoted dad, longtime actor, producer, TV presenter, personality. You definitely know him as Clark Kent, Superman in the 90s, a TV series that was called Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Honored to be here.
Liz.
Tonight, today, whatever time it is, Liz.
I know. I don't even. It's like we're hosting a late night show. It's late where I am. It's a
Liz,
little
didn't
late
you
where
have
I
a
am.
confession about Superman in the 90s?
Yeah.
about Dean?
I was, obsessed is not even really, it doesn't even begin to sort of capture the way that I felt about Lois and Clark. And I was joking when we knew that we'd booked you. I was like, that's how I knew that I was bisexual, is because I wanted to be in a relationship with the both of you. I was like, I love both of Lois and Clark. I can't choose. And so it was and my parents were like, are you okay? Like, I feel like you're like too into this show. And I was, pretty young, but I was really in a parasocial relationship with the both of you. So invested.
That's awesome. I love that.
I'm not sure you were the only one, Liz.
No, for sure not. Maybe the only 7-year-old, but yes, a huge fan. But I'm curious, you're talking so much about your son and how much he means to you. What do you think about the way that we're raising boys right now? What's your assessment? Are we doing it right? Are we doing it wrong?
Well, I think it's completely subjective. Everybody has their way of doing things. And, my dad's my adoptive father. He's not, my biological father was gone before I was ever around. He actually was gone before I was born. And he was I have a tattoo on my ankle that is my name, my given name, which is Tanaka. And it tells me to be proud of, where I come from, or just to understand my history as a human being through the chain. But it also told me what kind of a father not to be, and what kind of a husband not to be. Now, I've never been a husband, so haven't had to deal with that part of it, and haven't had the honor to deal with that part of it. But I have been a father, and I know what my adoptive father was like for me. Now, it's a different time. The way he was raised, he was a South Dakota farmer, so he ruled with there was a belt. There was a belt I would get sometimes. And actually, sometimes I would push to get the belt because I would just see how far I could go, if I could get away with it.
Wow.
And how, you're always testing the boundaries. And that's something you learn as a parent. The kids are always testing the boundaries. But I raised my son very differently than my father raised me. I still kiss my son on the face and on the neck, whenever he's taller than me, so I have to reach up to kiss him, but 30 times a day, all the time. I tell him I love him all day, every day. He's also a jiu-jitsu fighter, we box. He's a shooter. We shoot guns and do things together. He's a video game guy. But he's a different guy than me. So we do things together. I started playing video games because I wanted to be with him. So I was like, I'm going to play video games. I'd be away in Bulgaria shooting a movie, and we'd be playing World of Warcraft and talking to each other at the same time. And that's how I got to stay with him when I wasn't with him, and he's a little one. So are we doing it right? Are we doing it wrong? It's subjective. It really is. And I think it's, as a parent, you think you're overwhelmed all the time, and there's no saying what's right for everybody. For each kid, it's different. And even my god kids, completely different. Those two and they're 10 years old, and I have a lot of time. I spend a lot of time with them, and they're left with me over weekends and things like that. And they're I don't want to talk too much about their family situation other than that they're with me a lot. And I would say that I'm certainly a very strong father figure in their life. And they're lovely, lovely kids, but completely different than my son. And it's just like, wow, okay, I have to deal with this kid completely differently than I dealt with my son. Any critique and he would fall apart. And then you're like, wow, okay, that's sort of his thing. And you got to sort of work with him, go, look, you're going to get critiqued. It's okay. Understand? And now I'm watching him grow up and he's turning into quite a confident young man. Might get a little cocky, I hear now. So we got to discuss that next level, So I think it's subjective. I don't think a society makes every decision. And I travel the whole world. I mean, I've been everywhere from Russia to Australia to China to all throughout the Middle East. So I see the differences in men and women and masculinity and those things in those countries. So it's for me, it's completely different in every part of the world too.
Yeah. You said something that is just really sweet, how you kiss your boy, on the face and the cheek, 30 times a day. And
in front of his college friends too.
I love that. That's Liz and I, Jamie, we all talk about how important it is for us men to show physical affection. And I'm not going to ask you to speak for everybody, but I do want to ask you, why do you think it's so hard for men to be okay with men showing sons or fathers physical affection? Because I know that there was a big thing that happened, and what I found so weird about it was that it seemed political. And it's not a political issue. Like what? I think that it all started because there was a picture of Biden kissing his son or something, and it was like, real men don't do that. And then like I want to eat my son.
Yeah.
I want to put, he was a baby. I put his whole foot in my mouth. I can't get enough of him. Scientifically, it's called cute aggression. There's a term for it.
Wow.
But then your boys grow up. My boy's 4. Last night was the first night he didn't wear a diaper. And I'm like wanting to cry and hug him and kiss him. And I'm going to do that till I'm dead.
You will.
But why do you think it's hard? Why do you think men are not comfortable with that?
I think some men aren't. I mean, listen, the truth is my father, if I want to make my dad uncomfortable, I hug him. And I can feel him like he's squirmy and he's small. I just bought him a freaking house this weekend. So I hugged him a lot, and I even kissed his head. And for my dad, that's like, it makes him uncomfortable. And I'm not uncomfortable with that. And I don't know why people would be. Maybe, the more they see it, people might get more comfortable. Maybe it's because of the way society is sort of like, especially in my father's time, that was, he was a young adult in the late 50s, early 60s. And that maybe there was a time where, and he's a farm boy from South Dakota, and that wasn't considered. I mean, he changed his name from Bruce to Chris because he thought it sounded a little feminine. Bruce. I mean, that's where he was raised.
Wow.
That's the truth. I'm throwing him under the bus. I'm gonna get murdered for this.
He's not gonna listen to this podcast unless he has you on a Google alert, and then maybe he will.
That wouldn't happen. Nah. And my son is just, in front of his friends. Anytime I see him, I picked him up at the airport the other day because he flew into Las Vegas with a surprise. I just right in the middle of everything, hugged him, started kissing his face and his head. I was just like so happy to be there with him. And I don't know why people would think that's an odd thing. And listen, I disagree with Joe Biden's politics whatsoever, 100%. In a lot of places I do agree with little things. But do I think he loves his son and is unafraid to show that? No. And I think that's maybe my favorite thing about him.
You're listening to the Man Enough Podcast. We'll be right back. This episode is brought to you by Ladder. Recently, I bought my 2 little ones some bikes. Oh my goodness, 6 and 4 years old. How sweet and precious it was to just ride around the neighborhood with them. Now, being a parent is one of the most blessed jobs I'll ever have. And for the first time in a minute, all my kids, all 4 of them got together. We hung out, we shared a meal, we had some laughs, we listened to music, nothing crazy, but I was reminded of just how special these moments are and how important it is for me to look out for their futures. Life insurance gives me a lot of peace of mind knowing that my family will be taken care of. Why not pay a bit each month to protect the ones you love? If you're asking yourself this question, choose Ladder. Ladder is 100% digital. No doctors, no needles, and no paperwork when you apply for $3 million in coverage or less. Just answer a few questions about your health in an application. You just need a few minutes and a phone or laptop to apply. Ladder's smart algorithms work in real time, so you'll find out instantly if you're approved. No hidden fees. Cancel anytime. Get a full refund if you change your mind in the first 30 days. Ladder's policies are issued by insurers with long, proven histories of paying claims. They're rated A and A+ by AM Best. You know that Ladder's customers rate them 4.8 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot, and they made Forbes' Best Life Insurance 2021 list. Finally, since life insurance costs more as you age, now's the time to cross it off your list. So go to ladderlife.com/manenough today to see if you're instantly approved. That's LADDER life.com/manenough. All right, welcome back to the Man Enough podcast. Your son, because you've expressed those kind of things towards him publicly, and obviously I'm sure privately even more, do you think that has made him a different kind of young man than he would be otherwise?
I think
he is
so.
with others? Because my son as well is very affectionate in the way he is with the world, how empathetic he is towards people. What would traditionally be seen as feminine qualities and not so masculine, at least in the general way of thinking, showing those things to our sons allows them to be better than me and better than my father. And when I say better, I mean in the progression of what we want to be as humanity, right? Moving towards something. And so that would make me think that this is something that we want to aspire to and champion. And there's so much, do you think, that is told to men, young men growing up, to be really the antithesis of that, to be something else, to be macho, to be strong, to not show emotion, to not be loving, to not show empathy. And I think by doing what you did, it demonstrates the opposite.
Yeah, I thank you. I appreciate that because I really feel and believe that. But there is the man up, and don't, there's no crying in football. I cried my eyes out in football, by the way. I have like one of those old Super 8 movies of me trying to run outside on a sweep, just get crunched, and they leave me there, and I'm clearly crying on the ground. And I see that coaching young kids and things like that. I see that with my godson. He's a football player, and he's a big old boy too. And they lost their championship, man. There were tears. Every kid, tears. So and that's okay. And I remember the coach is standing there and saying it. And I said it to the kids too. Look, it's okay to cry. If you're crying and you're this upset, it's because you really wanted something and you really worked hard for something. And let that desire push you further forward, but don't be upset that you're crying or upset. That's okay to be upset. We teach the men and boys to be hard and not show emotion. That's sort of the traditional way. I think that's out the door, or it should be out the door. I think that in this day and age, people should understand that. And look at the 3 generations, my father to myself to my son. My son's not afraid to show emotion at all. People, boys got to be tough. Some boys, yeah. And if you want to be in a tough sport, you better be tough. If you're going to play football, you better be tough. Or else maybe that's not your sport. Maybe you should be playing tennis. I'm not picking on tennis players, but I'm saying that's more of a mental game or a thing like that. But I mean, there's things, football is a brutal sport. I mean, it's a brutal, violent sport. And if that's not okay with you, it's not something you want to be part of, then maybe you shouldn't be a football player. My son said, Dad, I don't want to play football, 7th grade. I think it's completely subjective, and you let whatever that kid is be how they fly. Give them wings and help them fly. That's. I look at guys like Magic Johnson, who's one of the greatest athletes of all time, and then you look at his son. That's a whole nother ball of wax, and he loves his boy, and I think that's beautiful. You look at Herschel Walker, one of the greatest ball players of all time, tough guy, and his son Christian, night and day difference.
You're listening to the Man Enough podcast. We'll be right back. All right. Welcome back to the Man Enough podcast.
But what impact does it have on boys, though, to be raised in a culture where, I mean, there are some rare exceptions and amazing fathers like you who teach, a full spectrum of emotions to their boys. But there's a culture still of, very limited sort of emotional expression for a lot of boys. So what do you think is the consequence of a society that sort of pushes that message?
I think you end up with some pretty stressed out kids who will act out in some very, very dangerous ways given the opportunity or certain situations. That's throughout the world. And I've seen it. It's that old time where back in Mad Men days where the men come home and they haven't been there all day. They're not interested in raising the children. That's the woman's job. I'm going to go make my money, come back and philander on the side. And that's just the way it goes. And they have no emotional connection to their kid. Well, their kid grows up void of that. And I'm not saying they become a serial killer, but you look back at some of these when you study those people who have had done some really shocking things, you see some of that behavior or that lack of affection or attention from their parents or things of that nature. I mean, I'd say you'd see that more often than not. So I think, I think it can be very detrimental to a kid. I know for my own son, I can speak, it would have been absolutely horrible for him. He's an introvert by nature, and he might have just gone into his little shell and, been sort of eaten up by this world.
And how about things for myself personally and my son? If you were to ask my son, what's the number one way that you can disappoint your dad? His answer, he's 19, first year of college. For sure, his response would be to mistreat a woman, to not champion women, to not stand for equal rights, right? Very much feminist. Forget the political term, but standing for the equivalent. How would you say you in your walk of life and with your son, do you believe in that? Do you stand for that? Do you feel that's imperative to be passive in it or to actually be active in it?
Well, I've raised a young, I would be happy to say I've raised a young gentleman who's a very, very caring kid who cares about everybody's feelings, be it male or female or anything of that nature. And he's in the middle of, you're in college, relationships are happening. And so we're constantly having conversations about that. And he is growing into a man, but he wouldn't, if he saw somebody mistreating a woman, his chivalrous bones would jump up and he would actively stop that. Or if, people are, doing something to that negative to negatively affect someone, he'll make some mistakes along the way, but he knows that is absolutely not acceptable. It wouldn't be acceptable, as he's got sisters. He's got a sister, and I always, what would you feel like if someone said that to your sister? He'd be like, I wouldn't like it. And I said, that's why you wouldn't treat a woman that way. And how would you like it if someone flip it around? What if a woman treated me that way? And, so he gets that. I think if I were to ask him, the number one thing that would disappoint me would be that he would treat anyone ill, be it male or female, to be honest.
Right. We know that generally, systemically, men are not mistreated in the same way that women are. So I think when I speak, because it's real easy to say like the blatant stuff, but it's all the nuance stuff that really shapes society, right? Anyone can say, yes, of course I'm against hurting a woman, or of course I'm against a black guy being killed just because he's black. But the nuance that happens is the stuff that really shapes society and goes unnoticed. So I guess I'm always curious with men, what are we doing with ourselves and also with our sons? I'm asking you this question because you have a son of that age that's going to have big impact in the world. The nuanced stuff that he may do to help that particular plight in the world. Or does he not even see it that way?
Well, he's in college. He can only see about this far in front of his face.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I hear that.
He can't see, but but I know that his morals and his values are very strong. He's going to make some mistakes and do some things that I wouldn't be so proud of, probably. We were at an event. I teach at the university as well. I teach filmmaking and such. And so I'm only there. I get there a couple times a year to teach. But we were at a hotel, and his ex-girlfriend, like two girlfriends back, her parents were in the corner. And he saw them, and he had spent some time with them. And he was like, oh, no, I go, my son's name is Christopher. I was like, Christopher, you see, so-and-so over the parents? He's like, yeah, I see him. I go, you get up and you walk over and you say hello to them, ask them how they are. Period. You do not sit here and pretend that never took place. You go over and say hello. And he did, and it was wonderful and great. And he's like, you're right, Dad. I should have done that. And that's the thing I teach him is like, you don't run away from your mistakes. You face them. And then you don't have that weird feeling like that. It's like lying. Another thing I talk to him about is lying. Like, don't lie. That's why even coming on this podcast, like, Justin asked me, and I love Justin, and he's a great guy.
You're listening to the Man Enough Podcast.
I don't care what he's talking about.
We'll be right back.
If he's asked me to come
All
on,
right.
my answer is
to the Man
yes.
Enough Podcast.
Because I'm open to any conversation, and that's one of the things that I think we're severely lacking these days is open conversations. I'd love to get into all kinds of conversations with Liz. I did a little background on you, young lady, so I'd love to get into conversations to talk about things, and I think that's what we're lacking, and I think it's unfortunate in this day and age. And so I love to come on and have conversations, and I love this conversation.
What did you want to talk to Liz about?
Yeah, what do we disagree on?
Well, I don't know exactly, but I did see that you were I wrote it down even.
Wrote it down.
Well, you're right.
Oh,
Just because
boy.
you write, I took a little notes on her because you write for MSNBC, and I'll see a lot of those things come very far to the left, and people seem to think that I'm far to the right, which I'm not. I'm actually socially really liberal. I'm a declined to state voter in California, which makes me an independent. I talk on CNN, I talk on Fox News, I host Fox News and things of that nature. People would say someone from MSNBC and Fox News talking to each other. And I say, good, please.
Well, when it comes to masculinity, it seems like we're on the same page.
I think so.
But I'm curious what you think about people who are talking about masculinity. Like, are you pro us having this, I mean, Justin having a book about this, me as a woman, writing about men and thinking we need to rethink masculinity. Does that, do you welcome that, or does that make you feel a little uneasy? Like, how does that sit with you?
I welcome all conversations. I would love to have read your book and be able to talk about it specifically. I would have loved to have read Justin's book. I'm sure it probably has a lot of pictures, and I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Wow. But I think she's saying, but Dean,
I love that so much. That's my favorite. That's my favorite.
Can I just and Liz, I don't want to take the mic from you. Just real quick, what she asked you, your response feels a little safe, which was, yeah, I welcome all conversation. Of course, you do. But I think more what. And forgive me, Liz, if I'm speaking for you, but what I was interested in is, do you agree with it or not, regardless if you welcome the conversation?
Her opinion would be interesting for me to hear. And I may not agree with it, and I would enjoy reading her book and seeing her opinion. I'd enjoy Justin's book and look at all the pictures. I'm kidding. No, I would know. I've watched some of your TED Talk and things of that nature, which I found awesome.
But I think that, listen, I like what you're saying, Dean, because what I think the world needs more of are conversations that are uncomfortable but loving. We had an incredible activist on the show. Their name, they go by they them pronouns, was Alok, who talked specifically about how important it is for us to have compassion over comprehension. This idea that, like, we just have to have compassion for each other. We just have to recognize that we're all in the same place before we have to understand each other. And understanding shouldn't be a prerequisite for compassion. I mean, I've talked to people that don't believe that patriarchy exists, right? I've talked to people that don't believe that racism exists. It's just about sitting in a room, having maybe ideological differences, but also creating the space to just talk to each other and listen. Because maybe, guess what? Dean, maybe you can teach me something about masculinity. Maybe I can teach you something about masculinity. Maybe you can learn something from Liz or Jamie or vice versa. And that's not what we do anymore. And that's why I was excited that you wanted to come on the show, because I believe we're far more alike than we are different.
I agree with you 1,000%. And I say this often regarding politics, just in general. I say there's 10% on the far left, 10% on the far right. They make a lot of noise, and 80% of us are somewhere in the middle. We all just want to love our friends and families and be able to have a positive impact on humanity, live a wonderful, fulfilling life, and pass that on and make life better for future generations. I mean, that's what that's the general, I would think, the general consensus of about 80% of the people.
We've mentioned a lot that we agree on some of the stuff, and we welcome the conversation, and you're so open to come here and share all that. So would you mind, I'm going to ask a few things that I think we may have some differing opinions on.
I'd love
so
it.
that we can actually discuss them rather than talk about discussing them, right? Like, for instance, the anti-police rhetoric. Let me just read, and I don't want to take out of context, but this is something that I believe that was something that you shared. You said something that said, these people will scream anti-police rhetoric all day long. I'd love to know who these people are without, because I don't want to take out of context. Also, but when their life is threatened and they need a hero, they'll dial 911. Police officer will show up because they're heroes. Yes, there are some bad apples, some bad situations, but 99.9 of the officers are fantastic, and they're there to serve and protect, and they do a fantastic job. Okay, I have a very different opinion than that. Not that the people are bad, but that the system is bad. And whenever, for me, and whenever I am in a system that has systemic things going on for years and years, I'm still breathing that air. And even if I'm a good person, I'm still affected by that air. And then when I go out in the world, I can then disseminate some of that air that I breathed in, right? Which is what I think some of this system is about. But I think that you feel a little bit differently than that.
Well, first of all, you have to understand, I'm a police officer. I'm a sworn sheriff's deputy in Frederick County, Virginia. I'm a reserve police officer in Pocatello, Idaho. I've served for almost 6 years now. A lot of my friends are police officers. A lot of my friends are military, former military, who work in law enforcement. So I know these law enforcement officers through and through. Some of them I really like, some I don't like so much. I think that's true in any group of people. So I was addressing the people who are saying all cops are bastards, kill the pigs. Those people, we shouldn't have a police force. That's just, you're living in fantasy land. You want your family safe. So you have to live in a world that has law and order. There have to be laws. You can't go kill somebody, take their things because you're stronger. You know, what law enforcement is supposed to be doing is helping those who aren't able to defend themselves. A lot of my friends who are police officers who've gone into this line of work are the type of people, they call themselves sheepdogs. They're the ones who will go and, you know, there's the George Orwell, I think, quote where it's like, we sleep well in our beds at night because there are rough men ready to visit violence upon those who want to harm us. And a lot of these guys they're not the softest of you know, touchy-feely. Sometimes they are, and they are in a lot of ways, you know, in ways you wouldn't expect. When they lose a fellow officer or another person within their unit. And so for me as a police officer, when I see big blanket statements like, you know, all cops are bastards.
Of course,
you know,
that's terrible.
That's what I was referring to. People who are anti-police and defunding the police, horrible idea. Horrible idea. Do we need social workers? Yes. Do you think a police officer wants to go into a domestic dispute? Not at all. When we hear that call, it's the worst call we can hear because emotions are going to be running high. You're going into someone's home. Now, where it's bad enough that they had to call 911, you don't know the layout of the place. You don't know what you're walking into. Like those police officers who were just killed in New York City. That was a mother calling the police on her own son. And that's a horrible place to be.
It is indeed. Would you agree that, I mean, I think all people should eat vegetables, or let's say food. You know, we know that people need food to live and exist. We don't argue that. But if in the food that I keep serving a particular group has some cocaine in it, I would not make the argument like, hey, you need food, you need these vegetables. I would acknowledge that there's some cocaine in these vegetables I'm trying to give you, and let's address that versus the rhetoric that keeps going on about the vegetables are good. Vegetables are good. Let's just eat vegetables. Who's saying that we should? And that's not the point. It almost detracts from this issue that's coming up, which is how do we address this cocaine that is now in the food, and we have to deal with that. And that's why people are screaming, fuck vegetables, because what we're getting from it is cocaine all the time, right? Sorry for
back
the analogy.
In the day, No. I was going to say back in the day, Coca-Cola really had cocaine in it, and they really liked it. I'm just kidding.
So that's what we're speaking to when people say the police force or systems of that nature need to be reevaluated. And then your response, I fully agree with. It's not that anything you said in and of itself is wrong, but if it detracts from the issue that I'm trying to bring up or another, that what do we do with this cocaine?
Well, I would say the answer is you go in. It's more training. It's more training. It's more discussing about X, Y, and Z. It's more going out and trying to find that cocaine in the vegetables and get rid of it. And you find that within the police practices and the way you treat. I mean, the two places that I work, the community engagement is amazing, and they want the police officers to be seen as members of their community, and they are members of their community. And when you see them, you say hello. Chat with them instead of going like, oh, there's a cop over there, I don't want to see that, or that sort of situation. And some police officers, and I know some, come in and you almost want to go, man, not you, just because of the attitude of the way they walk in. That exists for some people. It's unfortunate, but we know who they are within our departments, to be honest. And I wish there was a way that we could weed them out.
So you think there's only, Liz, I know you probably have something to say, or Justin, let me just a couple follow-ups real quick.
Okay. No worries.
Would you agree or disagree that there is racism in the system itself? Not necessarily with Dean. Dean might be a wonderful guy, and you are a wonderful guy. I don't mean to say might, you are. But that the system itself has systemic racism, that there's actual data that suggests that's not just a few bad apples. The individuals might be only a few bad apples, but the system itself has it in there, and therefore
no, I wouldn't agree with that. I don't think that's correct, and I don't think the data backs that up. I was recruited by a black officer. I don't have like a black friend. 80% of my friends are black. My best friend from college is here in the other room right now, and he comes here a lot. He's always here. Tell him to get his own. I'm kidding.
That's what a best friend does.
Exactly. He's like, I'm home. No, so I don't think that it's systemically set up that way. I think I really don't. I really don't think that the actual.
But there is data, right? That communities of color are over policed, and
they're policed more. You say over policed, but you ask the community of color, particular community, do you think you want to have less police officers? And their answer is going to be no.
Mm-hmm. It's just like this sort of law and order perspective, right? We've had a lot of different guests come in and actually argue for abolition, argue for, people who have been incarcerated and who are saying, it comes back to our conversation originally, right? That we're all going to respect each other. We're all more similar than we are different. But the way that we treat criminals, right? Or people who end up, committing or just like people who are over policed, we end up treating them differently, right? And then we end up causing the issues that we're trying to sort of solve. And so, I'm just curious, do you see any place for reform within the system that we have?
I'm sure there's plenty of places. I mean, I don't run the system and I don't know the system through and through. But when you use that term over-policed, now that's a tough word for me to swallow because I don't understand the concept. If you're getting a lot of crime in a certain area, there's going to be more officers in that area. The homeowners, the people, the citizens are asking for more officers. So we'll put a larger police presence there. That's our job, is to do that. I mean, it's a fine line, obviously, but you're not, stop and frisk. That's a very, very, I would argue, unconstitutional situation. You have the right not to be stopped. I mean, they have to have probable cause, and we're taught that as officers all the time. So that's a really contentious issue. But by and large, I don't think, police officers aren't looking to go cause trouble. They're not like, I want to get up and kill somebody today. Not one that I've ever known. They may exist out there, and if they do, you'd see it and smell it and be like, oh, that's horrible.
No, that's not the issue. I agree with you. I don't think that your average person is waking up wanting to think about that. I do know that if I go into an area that I believe that I don't have any quality of thinking of a group of people, I might go into an area more tense, more on defense. And I'm even speaking about police officers. I just mean in any walk of life. If I walk down the street that I think if in my perception, there's more trouble over there, I'm going to walk with my fist clenched versus if I walk over there, if I don't think it is a threat.
Right.
And because racism is really prevalent in the world, if there are police officers who are armed and go into an area where they feel, oh, these people are a little bit more threatening, then you're going to, not you, but those individuals may go into there with the defense and their fists clenched and their guns drawn differently than you would go into another area.
You can't draw your gun unless you have an immediate threat.
I use it as a metaphor, not necessarily literally.
But I would argue that they would be more vigilant if you're in an area that's more, if I'm walking down the streets of Malibu at 4:00 in the morning, I'm not as concerned as I am when I'm walking down the streets of Santa Monica at 4 a.m. I'm just more vigilant at that.
What would your thought then be? And I don't want to just bring up a cliche, but I've got a lot of black friends, a lot of white friends. My mom's white. I've got a whole family on side of white. Other than a handful, I would say if I were to ask any of my male friends, white or women, how many times have you been pulled over or harassed? And it's like, Justin, how many times have you been pulled over? But if I ask almost every black guy I know, or black woman, but especially men, all of them have a laundry list. I couldn't even count.
Driving while black.
Driving while black. We know these things exist.
Yeah.
So does that not also affect a system that's in place to protect on one hand?
Yes, is the answer.
So that's what we're talking about, reform. So how do we deal with those things? Because it can be more catastrophic when you're dealing with that system than if I'm just dealing with a random person walking down the street.
I lived this a little bit because I drove a 1973 Chevy Nova in Malibu when I was a kid. That was the car I drove. So I got pulled over for being Mexican a lot. And when I was in high school, I got pulled over like every other day. And they'd be like, how long have you lived in Malibu? And I'm like, my whole life, man, my whole entire life. And I remember how frustrating that was for me. I hated that. And I don't think that's right. I absolutely think that's wrong. We're supposed to have probable cause. Sometimes some police officers will get overzealous with that. But as an officer, if you take an officer's badge number and you make a complaint, let me tell you how that is devastating within the force. That's a very serious thing. So I encourage anybody who has a negative contact with police to get a badge number and report it. They take it very, very seriously. Now, my 2 godkids are half black, half white. And my son is blonde hair, blue eyed, very white. I taught every one of them the exact same thing that I practice when I get pulled over. An officer, when they're first approaching, is very nervous. They're looking for every little thing. So I roll down every window in my car. If it's nighttime, I turn on my dome lights. I put my hands on the steering wheel and I spread my fingers. I do this every time. My son does it every time. My godkids do the same thing. And so that they can see lights are on. I'm not trying to hide anything. Here's our hands, fingers are spread, nothing's in them. And then we proceed to have a conversation. Driver's license and registration, please. It's in the glove compartment. May I reach for that? Ma'am.
And
sir,
Dean, you're not more
officer.
worried about honestly, and I'll let it go in a minute, but I appreciate you having the conversation. You're not more worried about your 2 black godsons driving.
Boy and girl.
Boy and girl, okay. Forgive me, godchildren driving versus you would your son that's blonde hair, blue eyes?
I'm not. Not if they follow those protocols. I'm really not. And maybe that's naivete on my part, but and I'm also an officer. I'm not.
Okay. I don't know if I believe that, but okay.
This is just very Jamie about 8 months ago. We FaceTime too much. We FaceTime 5-6 times a day, and he runs our company. So we're too enmeshed. We just had a spiritual men's weekend together, and now we're having to look at each other all day long, every day. So it's a little too much. Yeah. And our wives are best friends, and our kids are cousins.
Oh my! You guys are married.
We're basically married. We were on a seesaw together 2 days ago. So we FaceTime all the time. So I'm hanging out with my kids. The kids are playing on the monkey bars. And I get a FaceTime from Uncle Jamie. So I answer it. And his phone is on the dash. And his hands are up in the air. And there's a police officer to his left who's just checking his license and registration. And I have witnessed, and there's a whole chapter in my book about this. I have witnessed my best friend be harassed, be berated, be discriminated against right in front of me for years. And for years, I ignored it because I didn't want to recognize what was actually happening. I didn't want to actually believe that this man who I love so dearly could be judged and subject to the racism and the microaggressions that I've seen happen. And eventually, through his patience, he started to get really fucking pissed off at me. For not seeing what was happening, for not acknowledging the fact that the waitress literally wouldn't look at him in the eye, or why the guy in the store cared that he had a coffee and not me and kicked him out. All of these types of things. But here's my best friend. He is scared out of his mind, and he had to get me just on FaceTime to make sure that there was a witness there, that there was a white friend, because this is his experience as a black man.
Sure.
This is his actual experience. And again, here we are, another friend of ours at Stanford, became a professor. We just talked about it yesterday. He was pulled over at Stanford because it's 95% white, 7 times by the local police for doing nothing, right? It's a real thing that and I'm sure your best friend experiences this, Dean, but every person of color that I know has experienced in a system. And when so many of those things happen, I just believe we have to ask ourselves why. And I think that's the moral of where I just want to go with this is so long as we're asking ourselves why, then maybe we can dig deeper and find answers. Because I agree with you. I think that getting rid of the police force right now would be a terrible idea because we don't have a system in place to replace it. We don't have systems for these communities that desperately need much more than policing. Education,
sure.
Financial support, community support, right?
100%.
Should police be going to domestic violence calls or domestic disturbance calls in these lower income neighborhoods? Is that the best thing? Can social work, I think that there's so many more ideas and doors that we could open up, and it doesn't have to be black or white. It doesn't have to be wrong or right or us versus them and abolish it all now. But maybe there is a new system that eventually could could exist? I don't know those answers. That's not my specialty. The most important thing, though, is that we hear each other. I appreciate you hearing Jamie, you hearing Dean, and you even listening to this.
No.
Dean, I'm really appreciative of you having the conversation, and in fact, a lot of what you say, I don't disagree with. And I know you've heard this. You don't need to be, preached to about what's out in the world. I believe you know it, you see it, and you experience a lot yourself, as you had said. I would say this: that my community of folk that are screaming for police reform are not just saying it because we want to. I didn't call Justin scared just because I'm just, just pulling something out of my whole life. I've experienced stuff,
Of course,
that has caused me to reasonably be scared, and not just me, but most of my community. And without saying it, blaming you or this person or that person who's in this system, it's real. So what I think we ask is that someone like you, who is of intellect and mind and a platform and a voice and experience in so many ways, to maybe first response to be like, yeah, I hear what you're saying. I see it. I understand you're not just making this up just to cause a problem, that it's real. And while I may not agree with every little thing you're saying, like, fuck the pigs, of course that's terrible to say. I agree. But I understand where it comes from, because it comes from years and years and years of it. And not just within this, decade, but the decades before that and hundreds of years before that. And then you add slavery to it and you add stuff and all of this that's there. That when someone like yourself says, I feel you, I hear it, I've witnessed it, and yes, we need some reform. And when you hear someone like you say that, it disarms me a bit more.
Yeah, I'm not against reform at all. I think absolute reform is 100% necessary and warranted, and I think that's great. Reform, abolition is like, whoa, wait a minute, who would be hurt the most? Those who can't defend themselves, because in a situation that becomes lawless like that, if there's nobody there to protect people, then the strong just take over.
Right now, if it's not
just
get
another system.
rid of it. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Hey,
Who's this?
Hey, quiet.
Speaking of your best friend, your best friend's coming in.
That's it. Hey,
speaking of,
let me do this real quick.
Take the headphones off. Can we tell
TV,
him?
Man.
Can we tell him? Can we tell him what you said? I'm sorry. What's your name?
Yeah, of course.
Steve Foster.
Steve.
What's up,
Dean,
Steve?
Dean says he doesn't want you staying with him anymore because you're here too much.
Because I'm what?
I'm just joking.
Too much. Oh yeah. he was here too much in our dorm room too, man. I wanted him out. Tip for tat.
Hey, let me ask you a quick question though. I mean, he's a lawyer, so he's ew. But you ever been pulled over driving while black?
Yes.
A lot?
Not a lot. No, because, and I'll tell you why. I recognize as an attorney of 26 years what I need to do to not have people follow me. But I'll tell you, I've been followed in Austin, Texas in the last year at least twice.
Okay.
Jamie and I were having that conversation about that, and it's not like he and I don't talk about this.
I was the committee director and general counsel for the Texas Committee on Criminal Justice. So I've worked with a ton of folks. I've worked with the Texas Municipal Police Association, but you don't know that when I'm in a vehicle. You only find that out when I show you my bar card and my license, and then they go, oh, you're an attorney. And then they don't recognize or know the relationships I have with people throughout the state, which makes a huge difference.
Well,
And don't you think that
makes a huge
But
difference.
shouldn't everybody?
What about
no
all the
matter
other?
how. Yeah.
That's right.
Sorry.
And my plight is I want to block for the Jamies and the other citizens, good citizens of the state of Texas and beyond.
But that's reforming the system from within.
You have to.
Yeah. Okay.
And we agree there should be reform.
So it seems like we're all in
in
agreement.
the same ballpark, yeah.
How that gets done, maybe I don't have all the answers to, and you don't. I want to transition to one thing now that you both are here. Dean, I'm curious. I know you've gone on the record your feelings about cancel culture and the difference and the difference between cancel culture and accountability.
Accountability, I think, is great. You should be held accountable for things you say and given an opportunity to explain them or be dealt with whatever. Which if you've done something so egregious or said something done something more than say. I believe really in the First Amendment really strongly. I think cancel culture is a cancer, and canceling people for something they say. If you hear Foss and I speak sometimes, you would think it's the most inappropriate stuff ever said. And he's my best friend. So you hear my other friend, he's Iranian, some of the things we say to each other, and you'd be like, you said this? Yeah, but I mean, my Japanese comes up, his blackness comes up, his Iranianness comes up, and we make jokes because we're all great friends. That's just part of being like, you're a pretty man, Justin, like me, and you're going to be killer number 4 with a sexy voice, but that's the kind of thing. It's like among great friends, that's part of what you do. You make fun of attributes and things that each of us have. But if you, cancel somebody for having said some of the things that we might have said to each other, it's insane to me. So cancel culture, I think, is, people can make mistakes and they should not be canceled on either side. I don't want to cancel anybody. I think we're all human and we can all make mistakes. We all do. Lord knows we do. Thank God social media didn't exist when we were in college.
But isn't cancel culture just like capitalism, like in action, right? Like it's just like you vote. I mean, you vote with a vote, but arguably your wallet is worth even more. And so isn't it your choice, to not support a certain comedian that you didn't like his joke? You don't want, there's a certain restaurant you don't want to buy chicken nuggets from. Isn't that kind of the free market? And everyone,
it is. But when you organize it together and everybody else shouldn't go to this restaurant because of this, it starts to become another ball of wax.
It's kind of, to me, it's kind of like you should be able on your own, especially how our system has been set up in the United States, to vote in or vote out what you like or don't like. Like you said, Liz, you should make those choices count. We don't. We get very lazy and we say, we don't like this, and then we're going to just remove it because that's the easy way out.
But there's no cancel culture is not like something telling us what to do. It's all individual action, all individual people choosing to act in a certain way.
Right. To some degree. To another degree, I think the crowd gets whipped up and everybody's gone. I personally haven't canceled a single person. Nobody I've canceled.
And great, that's your choice. Right. But like, if Joe Biden, sold a certain brand of burger and you had a choice between another burger, I bet you would want to buy the other burger, right?
Well,
and that
does
would
his
be
burger
your choice.
taste good? I mean, if that's a good burger.
It doesn't matter. Isn't that, again, the beauty of capitalism and individual? Like, I get to make choices based on what I think. I'm a total capitalist.
I agree with that 100%. But when a social media company or a government or something decides, okay, Justin's burgers, his plant burgers are no good, because I imagine those are probably plant burgers.
No, I eat real meat. Right. I get meat delivery to my house.
You go to the next level.
As a Texan, I respect that. Greatly.
Yeah. But it's got to be grass fed and grass finished. I want to eat meat that's had one bad day.
There it is.
But see, but
I don't. When somebody gets together and say you can't have his burger, that's what I don't want. I'm sorry, Jamie.
No, I hear that point, but I think that's a false equivalence, right? Because we're not just saying that. So, like, we would agree, like, let's say in the school system, in grade school, if there was a teacher there that had a class that was preaching some rhetoric that was really just toxic, like, I don't know, it could be like, I don't know, pick one that we could agree. What's one thing that we could agree on?
You could say black students aren't as smart as white students. And teachers have played to that for decades.
Let's say that. Let's say a teacher was up saying black students aren't as smart as white. Right. Sorry. And if that teacher was in the school with our kids, would we agree that teacher should not be teaching to those children? Because it's toxic and it's actually affecting our children. Okay, now let's go to college. Now we got a college professor there, and he's preaching the same thing. All Jews should be killed. Okay? Let's say that's what that preacher is. We would all agree that we don't want that disseminated amongst our people. That's even though he has the right to say what he feels.
Agreed.
Not in this environment. Because we know we got to protect people and the information that's being told, because it affects us. So now we have someone not in school anymore, in the world, who has a platform, and now they're saying something that's similar. We also then agree as a people, this is not good for society, for humanity. So what we try to do is let's remove that platform for stuff that's toxic. It's not about canceling a person. I think we get caught up in these terms. There's stuff, and I understand the First Amendment. I'm not trying to take that away, but there's a lot of stuff that we can agree that's harmful, And therefore, you get a group of people saying, we can't just stand by this.
But Spotify doesn't have a moral compass. Spotify just wants to make money, right? Like these companies just want to make money.
They might claim to have
a
moral compass, but
right. But ultimately, and it's not that I disagree with you, Jamie, but I don't even think it goes that far. Spotify's like, shit, like our, stock is tanking and we're going to lose users, or we're going to lose Taylor Swift or whatever it is, right? If I go on MSNBC and I say the N-word, if I go on MSNBC and I say something, they're allowed to fire me because it's bad for their bottom line to be associated with me. So again, aren't companies allowed to exercise that right and to decide we don't want to keep a contract with someone who's going to be bad for our bottom line, even if the reason for it is again ascribed morality? It's an individual financial decision, and shouldn't companies have the right to do that?
Sure, companies should have the right to do that. 100%.
I would say this.
There goes a lawyer.
I would say that's right. It's a balancing test. And that's where I come back with Jamie, that he says, look, I understand, free market. I understand First Amendment. However, in a society that should be somewhat mature in a democratic process, you should have some types of limitations when you know that it's just awful to the benefits or the lack thereof of the society that everybody lives in and has their freedom, because freedom is just not completely free. I'm a complete capitalist, but there's going to be some things I don't do because I know morally that's not going to be helpful to the rest of the group.
Right. The thing you were saying, we guys were talking about education. Okay, the black students aren't as smart as the white students, so I'm going to treat them differently. That's one thing. All Jews should be killed is a call of violence. Obviously, I know, and I'm done picking on the, calls to violence, of course. You can't, that's one of those things.
But that's where it gets tricky, though,
Yeah,
because if there is someone on a platform that's saying something and continuing this narrative and rhetoric about a particular group of people, like, we don't have to get into the whole Joe Rogan thing, I don't know everyone stands, but this is going on right now. He had said, I went to a movie to go see Planet of the Apes, got out of the car, there were no white people there, and I felt like I walked into the Planet of the Apes. He can color that and spin it how he wants, and I got nothing against him personally, but when things like that come up, do we not have an obligation? And I don't want to take away free speech. I get that, because that is a lot of what but that doesn't. But we do put laws in place, like wear seatbelts. We know it's better for society.
I was going to say
we put a
that
seatbelt law in there, right? And no one argues that. No one says you took my right away. Damn it, to not wear seatbelt. We know it's better for society.
Some people argue it, but
right.
Yeah, but fuck them, right? Because it's not good for the whole. So my then thing with something like Joe Rogan, and he's just one name, whoever it may be, if we identify and say this stuff can be toxic and hurt souls and hurt progress, do we not have the same right to also say we need to put a seatbelt law on that and maybe not have a platform for it? You don't agree with that, possibly?
Well, here's the thing. I think you and myself, Justin, Liz, and Dean ought to come out strongly against that. I think that's the counter to it. If you're going to, because I know what he is with the First Amendment. Okay, then speak up, Dean. Use your First Amendment against Joe, and say, I have people that I know that have been at Princeton, Joe, not just community college or something like that. No disrespect, because I took a class there as well. However, their brains aren't any less than what you're trying to purport. Use your ability to captivate people to counter that incorrect statement. You know it because your best friend doesn't have a different brain. Well, maybe I do. That's better than yours, Joe. Better than yours.
Are you saying your brain's better than mine?
Well,
you're not talking to me.
Joe.
Okay.
You? It's kind of neck and neck. He did get a 95 on his senior thesis. I got to give it to him,
I mean, that's what we're speaking to. We get caught up in these political terms and cancel culture, which is why I don't even like using it, because now we get attached to some word that means something else. We're just really saying, is this good for society?
Yeah, and some of the things might not be good for society, but I think there's a fine line. That's, you keep seeing me going like, when you deplatform.
Well, Jamie, then you have to put some onus on a guy like Dean to step up and say, okay, if we're not going to regulate it in that, we're not going to do a balancing test, then your voice needs to be heard in counter to what Joe said, because of the experiences, because of the knowledge you have, and because of the fact, if you're going to preserve that First Amendment to that extent, you need to counter, not counsel, but counter those poor thoughts, because that's a poor thought and judgment is bad.
Steve, that's really interesting. And we're so afraid to step up and say, oh, hey, that was really messed up. That's not okay. Because why? Because then we're going to get attacked by our own kind. in quotes. We're going to get attacked by, if someone who is on the left comes out and says something about someone on the left, it's like a betrayal. Something happens on the right, the same thing seems to happen. So then we're just sticking in these lanes and nobody's being real. Nobody's being sincere and honest. But then privately they're like, oh, that was so fucked up. I can't believe you did that. But say it on your platform. Say it to your audience. That's just one thought. Liz, do you have any other thoughts?
I have so many thoughts, but I feel like
We're gonna do part two.
We need a whole season 2 dedicated to way more of this. But I'm glad that I love this surprise guest.
He didn't know, but I'm sorry.
You're like, can you come here for a second? I'm like, yeah.
Another
It's a
hand.
pleasure to meet y'all. Thank you.
Wait. Let me ask you a quick question, Steve. Why are you so swole?
Because dudes
For
like him
no
couldn't
reason.
keep-
No
reason. Got dudes like
For no
him
reason at
taking-
all. You just walk in swole. Just like,
I'm actually, Jamie, a certified personal trainer as well, man. So,
okay,
you know
all
what I'm
right.
saying?
Okay.
Just trying to
That's
do
why you
everybody
guys
right.
I'm going to drink whatever the hell you guys are drinking. Looking that good in their 50s.
Hey, mid-50s. He just turned
Wow.
it. He's 6 months behind me to the day.
oh, okay.
All right, let me put these back
Wow.
on. Boss, thank you. Oh, all right, he's already gone. Full?
Did you text him to have him come in?
Yes.
I knew it. He didn't just randomly walk into when you're having
he
a
wouldn't
podcast.
walk in here.
No, Dean wasn't hiding it. I saw he was texting right in front of
I
us.
know, he was like, come on in here. We're talking about
I
something.
wanted to come in. Well, I just knew he would have things to offer to this
perspective.
conversation that
Yeah.
another perspective that I think was valuable.
Yeah.
And Dean's a writer and a producer and a director. He knew that would go well. And Jamie, if I was in Dean's shoe, if you were in the other room, I'd be like, Jamie, get your ass in here. I want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
Wait.
So-
Does that mean call
Call your
I
black
got my
friend
black
in.
Yeah, I got my black friend earlier. Let me
No, his black friend didn't agree with everything he said.
It's true.
That's true.
Which is why I really, and he knows, and this is one of the things I respect and like and love about Dean, is he knows his quote unquote black friend better than any of us, and he knew he was bringing him into something he wasn't going to agree with. I love that.
Okay.
We do that.
yeah.
That's like a Tuesday night.
Yeah,
I think-
it's just
I think-
But it's all love. That's the thing, and it's wonderful. So that's why I say when I want to have conversations with everybody and disagree, I don't mind that at all. Best point wins. You make a point that's better than mine. You know what? I can change my mind.
Oh, I like that. That shows that your ego's not in the way. And I know we have to. We're going to probably pivot and move on to something.
Rapid fire. We got a rapid fire.
Before we do that, just give me 20 seconds or something. You have a problem with wokeness?
We got to define wokeness.
I think people would think this show is pretty woke.
I think this show is a conversation. I think when you
Well, what's wokeness? What do you define wokeness as? You have said something about, you think you see a lot of kids that are woke in our school systems, things like that, and it appeared to me that you might have a concern about it or a thought about it.
Jamie, I have a problem with the idea of wokeness, and here's what it is. I think wokeness is people jumping on a bandwagon or claiming to believe in something they don't really know that much about or truly believe in for themselves.
That's not wokeness.
So I think that's how I look at it.
Maybe wokeness is a white woman explaining to a black man how Black Lives Matter. I have a problem with that.
That's not wokeness.
I'm saying if you use that as your example, but you keep telling me what it's not. What is it then, Jamie? You tell me, and I'll.
Wokeness. Okay. Isn't wokeness? I mean, first of all, it comes from the word woke, which comes to the word awake, right? The idea is that I'm aware, and rather than being in the dark before, I'm aware of things I hadn't before, and I'm willing to keep my eyes open. Now, it goes too far. I mean, because everything gets politicized and then terms, and then we hold on to these terms. It means people who are willing to have a different thought than they did before, stand for something, whether you understand it fully or not, but something feels wrong with this, and my eyes are being opened. That's all it means.
Well, if that's the definition, great. But I don't think that's everybody else's definition.
When you ask at the end of the day, people say I'm woke. When you ask them, what does that mean? They'll say to you, oh, I care for women's rights, and now I'm on this, and now I'm doing this, and I'm standing for this. Or I care for racial equality, and now I'm speaking about it in ways that are different. Before I'm listening to this, my eyes are open. That's really what they'll say. We've now come up with these terms that has defined it in ways that's just abstract, and it's all, it's distracting.
Cambridge Dictionary, a state of being aware, especially of social problems such as racism and inequality.
Hello.
That's fair. But for me, I've been aware for that for 40 years. So to
Okay,
me,
so you got right. So let's not get tied up in the thing like feminism. There's a lot of people that say I'm not a feminist. The dictionary says a feminist is someone that stands for the equality of women.
right.
I'm a feminist.
If that's the term, I'm a feminist 100%.
Exactly.
But if it's man bashing, I don't like it.
But here's the thing: it's just like the term toxic masculinity. That's being weaponized. Wokeness being weaponized. It's where are you standing, and by those standards, Dean Cain, then you're a woke feminist. But that's not the way the conservative media is going to look at you.
I would say, Dean, after this conversation, someone said, "Do you think Dean's woke?" I'd be like, "Yeah, he cares about stuff. He's talking about it. Is he on same? Does he think the same as I do? Do I think he has far to go in this area?" I might be like, yes. I may be wrong, but I might say yes. I believe, and I say this with a humble spirit, you would have more impact. We would have more impact than saying blanket statements sometimes and say, I may not agree with that particular stance, but I care about the equality of women. I care about the equality of black people. I care about opening my eyes to stuff that they may have been closed before to. I'm interested. I have no problem with people exploring the idea of being awake.
I don't have a problem with someone being awake. But when you said you have a problem with wokeness, I said define wokeness. You define it for me, and I'll tell you. That's the whole point. And if you just said it's the the ability to be floating above everyone else and be judgmental, I would have said hell no. But if you said if it's this, that, if it should be awake to inequities in our societies, I would say of course.
Right. Just like, do you believe Black Lives Matter, for instance?
Of course.
Of course you do, right? It doesn't mean
do I like the Black Lives Matter movement? No.
Well, let's not get into that yet, but or ever. I mean, but that doesn't mean. Some people think it means Black Lives Matter more. No, just Black Lives Matter. Do you think wokeness has to be then more than this or above this? Who said that? Just wokeness just means.
No, I was just using that as an example.
Yeah. So anyway, you know what? I think we're more all aligned.
By the way, I found the quote. He said, "Wokeness is pervasive in our school system. The cool thing to do today is to bash America." So again, it's not okay we don't want to bash America. Are there parts of America that can be improved? Absolutely. Do we want a fairer, more equitable, just culture to raise our children in? Yes. Do we want mothers to have, health care and be supported and have paid family leave and paternal? Do we want all these things? Of course. Could it be improved? Yes. Do we want to say fuck America? Absolutely not. That's not wokeness, right? So again, I think this is an important conversation because we're learning in real time. And what I love about you, Dean Cain, is that you're willing to learn and we're willing to learn. And as long as we're willing to do that, I have hope for our country and I have hope for our future. So with that, can we go into rapid fire?
Hit it.
Rapid fire questions.
Hit it, Liz.
Okay, Dean Cain, when is the last time that you cried?
Yesterday.
Why?
Well, because I was with my parents in Las Vegas and they got a new house and they were very, very moved and it moved me. And the night before was the time before that was when we all surprised them at dinner when they thought nobody was going to be out in Las Vegas. And my entire family, including my son flying from North Carolina, were all out there, surprised them at dinner. And I didn't realize I was crying. I was trying to film it. And then I was filming it, but I could feel it happening. And I was like, I'm and then my son said to me yesterday, he's like, Dad, you were, or Saturday night, he was like, Dad, I knew it was a big deal when I saw you crying. And I was like, I wasn't crying. He's like, you were crying. I was like, I was crying. Yeah. So yesterday, I'm kind of sound like a crybaby now. Although I'll cry right now thinking about it. So I have no problem crying and showing emotion.
And I would argue that makes you manly, Dean. The fact that to be willing to cry and to say, yeah, I cry a lot is brave to say in our culture where men are often attacked for being emotional. I think that makes you manly.
I'll take that. I agree.
Something that you think about yourself that is really great.
I really care about people. If I see someone stopped on the side of the road, I want to stop and help them. If I see, somebody in a situation that looks rough, I want to help them. I legitimately want to help people. I care about my fellow human beings.
Following up to that, tell me something that you think needs to be improved about you. Real talk.
I probably need to take better care of myself and maybe not be so giving all the time elsewhere. It's actually what my son said to me today. He said, all right, Dad, that was a great weekend, did a lot of things. He goes, now you better take care of you because maybe he saw me as tired as I was this weekend and emotional. He was like, you need to focus on you a little bit right now. And I'm usually pretty good at that, but
I'm sorry to challenge you one more time.
Yep.
I appreciate that answer. Tell me something about you that is not one of your best qualities. You what you said was it's interesting. What you spoke to is something. I'm curious more. Something that you think about you. I can tell you something about me that needs to be worked on. For instance,
I sometimes have a quick temper.
Mm-hmm. How do you deal with that one?
Self-reflection, some apologies, and try to work on it. As a person who's been in conflicts a number of times, physically and otherwise, it's I've been a little too quick to go there, and I don't know if that's the football player in me or what it is, but I should probably, especially at 55, should probably mellow that out a little bit.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate that.
Do you go to therapy?
No, never been to therapy. But that's not true. When I was in college,
are you open to going to? Are
sure.
you open to going to therapy?
I would consider it like just talking with Steve. In that sense, I mean, that's kind of it goes back to Paul Hogan in when back in Crocodile Dundee. He's like, yeah, you talk to your mates. He goes, you keep a secret. You tell your so and so. If I told Foss anything, he's going to tell everybody else too. So then it's not a secret anymore. It's not a problem. You just tell him, listen, I'm having trouble with this. He'd be like, yo, Dean's having trouble with this. And all of a sudden everybody's like, hey man, what's the matter with you? What do you like? Foss, come on, man. Right. He's like, no, you need it. Right. But that's a form of therapy. I'd have no problem with therapy.
That's a good friend.
I would have no problem. I tried to get my son to go to therapy at one point in time, and I did it when I was in college. I was having some real anxiety issues. I ended up having asthma my sophomore year, and I didn't know what it was, and it put me into panic attacks. I was having an asthma attack on the field, and so then I was afraid to be in closed places. It was so dang hot and all this stuff, and so I was having trouble dealing with that. And they sent me to a sports psychologist, and that helped a ton.
I love that you're open to it. When was the last time you apologized to someone? Speaking of apologies,
it's going to be in 5 minutes when I apologize to Steve for bringing him in here.
Oh, Steve loved it.
He did actually.
Steve loved it.
You got to know him. You can tell he loved it. That squeaky is my dog, by the way. I'm sorry. I got a dog.
Oh, no worries. When was the last time you really had a humble, man, I fucked up apology to somebody?
Jeez. It's been a couple years, probably about 2 years ago, but that one's going to have to. We won't ask you. That was going to have to stay close to the vest.
All right, Dean, you have a time machine, and you get to go back to your childhood, maybe your early childhood, when you were dealing with your father abandoning you, leaving, whatever it was, 7, 8 years old. What do you wish you could say to yourself? What do you wish you could whisper in your own ear?
Yeah, I don't think I'd go to my 7 or 8 year old self. I'd probably go to my high school or maybe even young college self. And because at 7 or 8, I was just pretty much just plodding along kind of stupidly. I'm a tremendous optimist, and I always had a smile on my face, and I still do all the time. I guess I would sit there and tell myself it's okay. Where you are and what you're doing, what you're thinking, it's okay. And it's almost like that poem, Desiderata. You are exactly where you need to be or where you should be in this universe. And you have every right to be here and having your thoughts and your actions. It's okay. That's kind of what I would tell myself.
And now you can fast forward and you get to go be a guest at your own funeral with this time machine. What do you hope is said about you? What do you hope your son says about you and the way you move through the world as a father?
I would hope he just said that my father was the most loving person I've ever known. That my loving, giving person I've ever known. Shame on you. It's hard because it's my kid, and there's nothing in the world to me that, being a parent, you're vulnerable. You are so vulnerable. I had a moment where he had a heart murmur as a little boy. He was less than a year old. I don't remember how old he was, or maybe no, he was like 3 or 4. He had a heart murmur, and we were very concerned about what it was going to be. And then it turned out it was okay. It was innocent. And his mom had him. That was her custodial time that day after we went to the doctor. And I was driving home. I had to pull over and stop. And I had a conversation with God. And I was just like, look, I don't know that I can have any more kids because I don't know how I would function if something were to happen to him. And because I just care so much about him and love him. And I get that's what happens and that's it. But I mean, if anything, I just said, I don't know if I can handle it. I don't know that I would want to keep going. What is there so I haven't had any kids since then. I don't know if God's answering my wishes, but I got a funny feeling I'm going to end up like Jamie and end up with 4. I just don't know when it's going to be. That would be like a 75-year-old dad. It's going to be jacked up. But if that's the way it's meant to be, that's the way it's meant to be. But you're so vulnerable as a parent. And I don't have to tell you that, Justin, Jamie, Liz, I'll tell you as a parent, you're so vulnerable. And
I appreciate you showing us that side of you today, Dean.
Shame on you for getting me there. I tried not to do that.
No, God bless you for getting you there.
Listen, this is the show. You're on the podcast. I believe us men need to release. We spend our days trying to be so strong and for the world, and deep down we are sensitive. I believe we are every bit as sensitive as our female counterparts, and there is so much emotion and feeling stored up in us that it's got to be able to come out. But yet we say shame on each other for making us cry, when in reality we should be saying thank you, because every time it comes out, we're releasing, and that's a beautiful thing.
All right, thank you, Justin.
So
there it is.
All right, last question, Liz.
All right. What does it mean for you to be man enough?
That's a biggie. It means to be, I am sort of the father figure of my family. So there's I just becomes that way at a certain point in time. My dad's 78. He has Parkinson's, is some things that he can't do and things. And I know that I'm a father figure to my god kids. I know it's awful for me to think about what they would feel like if I were to pass, and my son, would he feel so lost? And my job is as a parent, your job is to raise your kids so they could be independent of you and be able to function without you. And I believe I've done that with my son. I believe I've done it with them all. I guess to be man enough would be to get everybody into a place where if I were to go away, that everybody'd be okay.
Well, Dean, especially here at the end of the interview, but really throughout, and you even agreeing to come on the show, I just want you to know that I think that you are man enough. And I appreciate you being here, my man.
I'll take that,
yes,
Justin.
Sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Liz. Appreciate all of
Indeed,
you guys.
brother.
And I can't
You
wait
as well, man.
Well, and you and Steve, you guys will come back. We'll do this.
Done.
We'll figure this out.
Done.
Yeah, we got a lot
I love
more.
it.
We got a lot more.
I can't wait.
Okay, we're just scratching the surface, Jamie.
Oh, I
really like you, Dean, and I always did, and we had fun when we worked together all those years ago. But I'm excited to be back in touch and to spend some time together.
Yes, sir.
So, thank you, my man.
Congratulations on your success, by the way.
Ditto, brother. Ditto. All right, we'll be right back. This is Man Enough. Hello and welcome back to Man Enough. I feel like I normally don't say it that way. Man Enough. Man Enough. Welcome back to Man Enough.
Jamie, how are you doing? That was a lot. Checking in.
That was I loved it. I wish we could have gone a little bit deeper. I was really mindful, and I want to apologize because I know I took a lot of space up, so I apologize.
No.
Why would you apologize?
Stop.
And not just that, and also mindful of, we have another episode we recorded. I was just mindful of leaving space for others, and especially when there's 4 men at one point. There were 4 of us talking, and we had one woman, and I wanted to be mindful of that, not because you need me to be, you need that, but because I want to be better at that. So in that sense, I apologize, but thank you for allowing that space. And I really loved talking to him because there were some different opinions, but at the end, really what it speaks to is we're all the same. We really all do want the same thing. We just oftentimes come at it from different angles, and we get stuck on these things. And I like to go into points of what can we first agree upon? Because we always start way over here. What is it that we agree upon? And if we can start there, then we can go outwards and then start dealing with the things that we disagree on and then find where is the commonality. I felt like there was some. Did you feel that, or what was your thought?
I felt like very, I feel like I want to apologize because I feel like I wasn't as present because I didn't know how to enter the conversation. There were just many points where I wanted to speak, and I feel like I should have spoken more to support you, but I was like, then I'm like the white woman talking over. I don't know. There's like, I feel like I expect you as a man to step up in conversations around gender. And I feel like I didn't step up in the conversation that we were having around race because I didn't know how to. No, but like, I actually don't, I'm going to like think about why that happened. But I think part of it was like, I don't want to be like, you were speaking beautifully to it. But then after a while I was like, wait, like, why is it Jamie like handling all of the emotional labor of this conversation? And like that anyway. So I feel like I'm.
Well, that's interesting. Jamie, did you feel like you were handling all the emotional labor?
I didn't feel that. Liz. No. I think we all in different times, at different podcasts, one of us might be a bit more leading
involved,
a conversation involved than another one. This is one. There's many that I don't, and this one I did. But I do want to speak to the fact that, yes, maybe in your own reflection, you're like, why wasn't I getting more involved? There's some reasons in that. But also, I think it also demonstrates there were 4 men talking about something, and what we have to be transparent about, is that we still have to even get better when having these conversations to make sure we are including a voice that we oftentimes may not think of or may not come with. And I don't think that while we did a lot of things wonderfully in that, we could have also been better at that. Or I could have been better at that.
No, I mean, I feel bad. Like you haven't eaten. Like you're like doing so much.
I mean, should I be apologizing for something now?
No. I was the one dominating, not you.
No, but also, I want to say this, Jamie. But also, like we had a conversation before where Liz was very open about not knowing where she would exactly fit into this conversation, and gave us men permission to, in many ways, lead it, which is what I feel like we did. So again, I'm looking at this from another perspective. Liz, I actually felt like when you jumped in, it was amazing and beautiful. And Jamie, I felt like what you were doing was exactly what your heart drew you to do.
Yes, so I hear that.
But maybe I need to find something to apologize for.
No.
I mean,
there's nothing. It's not about apologizing. I don't want to make it about that. I am just saying for myself, and I think men, no matter what, we have to always be mindful because there's always reasons not to.
Anyway, I think that I don't know. I'm just at a place where I don't want to argue. Like, I just don't want to argue. And I have this like meta experience whenever I start arguing about politics where I'm like out of body and I just see it as part of the noise that we're creating. Yeah. And right. Like, and so I think that's part of why also I was taking a step back. And then also, again, not wanting to speak on behalf of other people. I was trying to, bring in Richie's words about, abolition and bring out other, people that we've had on the show who had differing opinions. But, to be told like, well, people in that community want more policing. And it's like, well, I can't say as a, you know what I mean? Like it just put me in a weird situation where I was like, oh, I don't want to be the white woman who's like, do you know what Black people want? Like, it's like, no, that's not my place.
I think it's good for us to feel a little uncomfortable at the end of one of these things because he's a great man. He's got his own opinions, but at the same time, I found that we agreed on a lot of stuff. And this is what it takes. I love, Liz, that you're having this feeling about politics and arguing and how you don't want to argue anymore and that meta experience that you have, because I think we need that more because nothing comes from arguing. We got to find that thing, that place where we can agree, and then from there build a bridge. So I think I think you're right on. I wish everybody was exhausted about arguing about politics. I wish it didn't sell subscriptions to magazines and ad buys, on these various networks. And I wish it didn't create more clicks and views on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. I wish that wasn't the thing we were drawn to, like car crashes on the other side of the freeway. But it is. But until all of us are like, I'm tired of arguing.
Yeah.
Can we just talk about something?
Yeah.
Nothing's going to change. So I appreciate that you said that.
And I appreciate, by the way, Liz, that you said just now, you said you don't want to be the white woman that's talking about, well, this is what black people want. You never do that. No, you don't ever do
you
that.
Never do that.
Let me just say this.
But then I was silent, so it's not better, So anyway, I got to figure out.
No. But what I'm saying is that you are a woman who's white, who researches data, and every time I hear you speak about it, you don't ever say, black people need this or black women want this or such. You say, according to my research, according to my investigation, the conversations I've had, and this and this and this is what the data says. And you also have a personal opinions there, but you're very, very good at that. And I appreciate that part about you.
Thanks, James.
You guys are the best damn co-hosts and friends ever. And I love and appreciate you both. I think this was a great conversation. I hope that it brings in some of his audience and some of the folks that maybe won't listen or haven't listened to our podcast because they assumed that something was woke or too liberal. And I hope that they see this conversation that we had and are open to the ideas that we shared. And if you are listening to this for the first time, and if that is you, listen to some other awesome episodes. Check us out at manenough.com/podcasts. You can like and subscribe us wherever you get your podcasts. If you're listening to this, you can go watch the video and see Liz's red shirt and Jamie eating the whole episode. And we are so grateful. We are so grateful that you stuck around and listened to this. And if you take anything away from this, remember this one thing: that you, who you are as you are, is enough. I'm Justin Baldoni.
I'm Liz Plank.
Go ahead, finish your bite. Finish your bite.
And I'm eating, and I'm
Jamie's
Jamie.
hungry.
and this is Man Enough. We'll see you soon.